They crunched up to the doors and mitten on them manfully, but all that the children could hear was a ringing of bells.
You mean that the postman went rat-a-tat-tat and the doors rang?
I mean that the bells that the children could hear were inside them.
Get back to the postman.
They were just ordinary postmen, fond of walking and dogs and Christmas and the snow. They knocked on the doors with blue knuckles, and then they stood on the white welcome mat in the little drifted porches and huffed and puffed, making ghosts with their breath, and jogged from foot to foot like small boys wanting to go out.
And then the presents. There were useful presents, engulfing mufflers of the old coach days, and mittens made for giant sloths, zebra scarfs of substance like silky gum, which could be tug-of-war down to the galoshes, blinding tam-o'-shanters like patchwork tea cozies, and bunny-suited bush bees, and balaclavas for victims of head-shrinking tribes. From ants, who always wore wool next to the skin, there were mustache and rasping vests that made you wonder why the ants had any skin left at all. And once, I had a little crocheted nose bag from an ant, alas, no longer whinnying with us. And pictureless books in which small boys, though warned with quotations not to, would skate on Farmer Giles' pond and did and drowned. And books that told me everything about the wasp except why. Go on to the useless presents.
Bags of moist and many-colored jelly babies, and a folded flag, and a false nose, and a tram conductor's cap, and a machine that punched tickets and rang a bell.
And a painting book in which I could make the grass, the trees, the sea, and the animals any color I please. And still the dazzling blue sheep are grazing in the red field under the rainbow-billed pea green birds.
Hard-boiled, coffee, fudge, and all sorts. Crunches, crackles, hambugs, glaciers, marzipans, and butterwelch for the Welsh.
And troops of bright tin soldiers, who if they could not fight, could always run.
And easy hobby games for little engineers, complete with instructions. Oh, easy for Leonardo.
And a whistle to make the dog bark to wake up the old man next door. To make him beat on the wall with a stick to shake our pictures off the wall. And a packet of cigarettes. You put one in your mouth and you stood at the corner of the street and you waited for hours in vain for an old lady to scold you for smoking a cigarette.
What you?
And then with a smirk, you ate it.
Did you see that little letters?
And then it was breakfast under the balloons.
Were there uncles, like in our house?
There are always uncles at Christmas, the same uncles.
Some few large men sat in the front parlors without their collars. Uncles almost certainly trying a new cigar. scars.
holding them out judiciously at arm's length, returning them to their mouths, coughing, and then holding them out again as though waiting for the explosion.
And a few small ants, not one in the kitchen, nor anywhere else for that matter,
Sat on the very edges of their chairs, poised and brittle, afraid to break, like faded cups and saucers.
For dinner, we had turkey and blazing pudding. And after dinner, the uncles sat in front of the fire.
Loosened all buttons, put their moist, large hands over their watch change, groaned a little, and splat.
Mothers and sisters scuttle to fro and being turbans.
Aunt Bessie, who had already been frightened twice by a clockwork mouse, whimpered at the sideboard and had some elderberry wine.
the dog was sick. Auntie Dozy had 3 aspirins.
But Auntie Hannah, who, like Port, stood in the middle of the snowbound backyard, singing like a big-bosomed thrush.
Well, I would blow up balloons to see how big they would blow up to. And when they burst, which they all did, the uncles jumped and rumbled. In the rich and heavy afternoon, the uncles breathing like dolphins and the snow descending, I would sit among festoons and Chinese lanterns and nibble dates and try to make a model man of war following the instructions for little engineers and produce what might be mistaken for a sea tram car.
Or I would go out on my bright new boots, squeaking into the white road onto the seaward hill to call on Jim and Dan and Jack, and to pass through the still streets, leaving a huge footprint on the hidden pavements. Let's post Mr. Daniel a snowbox through his litter box.
Let's write
Things
things
in the snow.
Let's write Mr. Daniel looks like a spaniel all over his lawn. Or we walk on the white shore. Can the fishes see it?
Always, on Christmas night, there was music.
An uncle played fiddle, a cousin sang Sherry Wright, and another uncle sang Drake's drum.
It was very warm in the little house.
Auntie Hannah, who had caught on to the parsnip wine, sang a song about bleeding hearts and death.
And then another in which she said her heart was like a bird's nest.
And then everybody laughed again. And then